All right, we are live here. This is week 27 of the Crystal Crusaders playing in Storm King's Thunder. I am joined by most of my lovely players. Zach is not here, probably asleep. It is pretty early in the morning, but the rest of them are here. Say hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hello, everybody.
Yep, only one of you did it correctly, and surprisingly enough, it was the one I didn't expect to. There you go. Yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and get started here. Before we do so, I guess it has been a couple of weeks again, another 2-week gap here. So
We also
Mike,
have technical difficulties.
Mike, if you would like to attempt to recap what happened last time.
Has Mike returned from the
I
toilet
don't
visit?
know. That is
No.
that is a question.
It hasn't.
Well,
Is he still pooping?
he already screwed it up.
Well, I did ask right before we were going to start the stream, and nobody replied. So
I forgot who Mike was.
I didn't even hear him when he said he was leaving.
Who's Mike?
Yeah, what? What's a mic?
it's what you talk into.
How cool gets 999 negative inspiration? You are at disadvantage on all your rolls for the rest of the campaign.
No, only 999. Start counting.
All right. Well, I guess then while we wait for Mike to get back,
Elevator music.
all right. Did Thor? I don't know if you weren't here last session, but there was a tiny amount of XP given. In the amount of 200, I believe, for killing a hill giant.
I have not added any of that, no.
So I believe that you should have an additional 200 XP points.
All right.
Since you weren't here.
You should have 23,978. Or 77.
87. I had 10 more.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's what I got when I added my 200 as well.
One of these levels, that 10 XP is going to matter.
Yes. One of these levels, it's going to be.
Mike is back, so.
All right. Well, then in that case, then we can officially super get started here.
How was your poop, Mike?
Nobody wants to know that. Anyways, yeah. So let us begin here. I know it's been a 2-week gap again. So Mike, are you comfortable giving the recap of what happened last time?
Sure.
All right. Very well. Then. So, without further ado, if you could please tell us what happened last time on Storm King's Thunder.
So the party left Waterdeep to head to Goldenfields to meet this or find this troll. Giant. Can't remember his name right now. And on our way there, we encountered a hill giant fighting some guards that were guarding the fields. A short fighting occurred where one of the guards were slain, crushed by a belly flop. And then we slew that hill giant. Upon which we told them to get reinforcements and the regular thing. After which we continued along the road towards Goldenfields, where we later on encountered large seagull-like birds doing some dive attacks on something. And once we chased away those birds, that something turned out to be a cocoon of some sort. And inside this cocoon was a man with translucent skin who identified himself as Lord Arten Rosario. And he was a lord in Yartar, and he said didn't know what was wrong with him, why his skin was like as it was. And the only memory, the last memory he had was of some lady in a black dress, I believe. That's all we could get from him. So he asked us to help him get back to Yartar, and we said that we could bring him with us to Goldenfields, where we could ask the local clerics or abbots if they could do anything about his condition or if they knew anything about it. And after which, when we've finished our mission, we could take him back to Waterdeep, where he could acquire some sort of transport back to Yartar, either to portals or teleportation circles or the like. Once we made it to Goldenfields, we encountered at the gates the guards. They were searching through everything. We asked them, and there had apparently been recent attacks by giants where they just threw boulders into the walls in the town on the north side of the city. They were happy to know that the backup had arrived, even though we weren't sure if we were that particular backup. Or at least I didn't, but I am pretty sure we were now. Unfortunately, it was later in the evening, so the cleric wasn't at the church at this point. So we decided to go to the inn and just rest there for the evening, for the night. And in the morning, we had plans to go to the chapel to see if the clerics there could help Lord Arden. And after which we would go to the guard captain to Strog Thunder Blade, and see how the situation looked and what we could do to help. And also, we met the interesting innkeeper of the inn we ended up in, who was Miros Xelbrin, a very hairy, white hairy man who was called the Yeti. And we also met a man named Chalvus Martholio, who was tending the horses in the stable, and who was a kind and talkative man who guided us to where we needed to go. The end.
Yes, indeed. I believe last time we left off, you guys hadn't quite gone to bed yet. Basically, I was left off as you guys were in the tavern room at night. You had some drinks and some of the freshly prepared meals made from locally sourced ingredients here, and all of it is quite excellent quality wise and taste. Whoever the chef is, they know what they're doing. The flavors meld very, very well. And I think as you guys are sort of sitting there, Shelvis is still sort of like with you, just kind of like hanging out. It's kind of like asking questions. Obviously they don't get much in the way of folks like yourself out here to this place. Most mercenaries and adventurers don't really have much reason to go visit a big farm. Unless under like extenuating circumstances, which you happen to be. So he's just kind of been like, asking about, where you're from, what you're kind of doing. You told him a little bit about that. You said you were looking for someone here. As you're kind of like there gathered in the room, you can see a lot of people right now in this kind of like common room, tap room area, are gathered around what appears to be like this rudimentary sort of like stage, and you can see there is a there's a halfling man sort of like on the stage who appears to just sort of be like singing singing to the crowd, and whatever song he was singing like finishes, and the crowd kind of like cheers as he like hops down off the stage, looking around the room, and he actually as his eyes scan the room, he like sees you all, and he begins walking over in your direction. It's a short halfling man, sort of like light skin, wearing simple kind of like brown tunic. He has kind of like muddy blonde hair, swept back, with these like really thick mutton chops on the side. And he walks up to the table, and he says, "Well, what do we have here? I have not seen your faces here in the tap room." And he kind of like gives a bow and says, "I'm Oren Yogurli. A pleasure to meet you."
The pleasure is all ours. I'm Sir Alimir Deganis, and I must say that was a very nice, jaunty tune you were singing.
He kind of like smile, like his big beaming smile, and he says, "Yes, I thought that one up when I was wandering the fields last night." And he says, "But I must be honest, there's not a whole lot that goes around in this town." He says, "Not much material to work with. You can only sing so many songs about working a hard day's labor and sleeping a good night's sleep before people get bored of this sort of thing." And he says,
Oh no.
"Yeah." He says,
Oh no.
"But then I saw you sitting here, you incurious strangers such as yourself. I thought perhaps they might have some tales to share with me, that I might weave them into my songs."
Toss a coin to your witcher. uh,
I'm not certain that we like that our tales are song worthy. But if you wish to hear them, then I'll look around and like, do we have time? I'm not sure how much of a hurry we're in.
I mean, we're
you're in a room
waiting
like,
to
you're
sleep, pretty
waiting
much.
to go to bed. Yeah, you're at like an inn.
Oh yes.
We have as much time as long as we can stay up, I guess.
All right. I see.
I'm gonna be up early. I need to go to the church early in the morning.
That is true.
Do we have to go to church?
You didn't.
For Lord Arton, we do, yes. We promised to see if we could help him with his strange ailment.
By the way, I keep an eye on him like the whole night as we're here.
Yeah, as you're watching him, he seems like very kind of like uncomfortable with the situation. A lot of eyes are like on him, obviously, because he definitely like stands out with his current condition, and the fact that every so often he like uncorks the bottle on the alchemy jug and just like pours some more water over himself, and everyone's just like looking at him like, why is he pouring water over his skin?
He's fine.
So he's kind of like just doing his best to be like away out of the corner, especially because he's kind of been given these like, you know, shitty traveling clothes, and he's like, he doesn't want to be seen like that.
Lord Arton, maybe we could inquire for you to have a bath, if that would feel better on your skin.
And yeah, he sort of says, if such a place as this has anything like that, I would be most gracious. Unfortunately, I've none of my belongings with me, or I'd pay for it myself.
We'll pay for it, but trust me, right here, you're gonna get a tub and cold water.
Indeed.
It's not gonna be fancy.
And he says, at this point, I'll take anything. Anything's better than this indignation I've suffered. And he says,
I go up to the barkeep, up to the big grown dwarf, as I called him. And I go like, do you know where we can find like a tub and where you could bath a human and some cold water to put in it?
yeah, so he sort of like grunts like, and he says, kind of like chuckles. And he says, let me guess, it's for that friend of yours who's been pouring water all over himself and getting it on my floor all night.
Surprise, surprise, ain't it?
And he's kind of laughs and he says, I can arrange something.
Glorious, man. How much do you want for it?
He says, honestly, just for the entertainment factor alone, I'll only charge you a couple coppers.
Fair enough. I give him whatever he wants.
And yeah, so he kind of like whistles over for one of the staff to basically like go fetch like a large enough container, like a barrel or something to fill with water. And he says, it'll take some time, but it should be ready in 10 minutes or so. We'll put it out back so it's not too distracting.
Obviously. Fair enough. And I try to like start seeing if I get some like towel-looking things, or maybe some new clothes for him, or whatever. And try to find some clothes that are more covering, like he can put in front of his face and stuff like that, like a cowl and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there's obviously like not much. Basically, like you have what you have. It's not like there's no like clothier or anything in this town. So, you do the best that you can. But again, it's very kind of like, you maybe like borrow like a scarf from somebody who doesn't need it or whatever, and
Yeah,
just kind of like
that's
throw
what I
something
mean.
together.
That's what I mean. Just like finding shit around.
Yeah, and he's like, again, I greatly appreciate this. He says, and when we get back to my mother in Yarter, I will see that you are all rewarded handsomely.
Hey, no worries. I'll take it as it goes. And I kind of like when the barrel is full, I kind of lead him out to it and throw him in a barrel.
Yeah. So meanwhile, back inside, you're all talking to this bard? Question mark. And yeah, so he's basically like asking, like, "Oh, have you any interesting tales to tell of your travels?"
Yeah.
Is there anything in like particular that you share?
Oh, well.
I'll also listen to their tales of the North.
Yeah, I meant that's like the only one like not really connected to anything going on right now. So maybe I would like share some stories of the North. Probably end up with one from like what happened to Icewind Dale 9 years ago. And like tell him that, regale him of the tale of the Ice Witch and Akar Castle and the pirates of Retnar.
Yeah, so he's kind of like nodding along, and he's like, my, what an interesting story. Chosen of the gods, undead, pirates? Said, what didn't that have?
Yeah, it's just like, I mean, a lot of people died, I said. Thinking back to the former members of our band, let's look at the graveyard. Where's the graveyard? Fugue playing. There we go.
I don't know. And he says, "It's an unfortunate shame. Such is the way of things, unfortunately. But I will do my best to honor their heroic sacrifices when I write the song about this. And believe me, I think folks around here aren't accustomed to such harsh, cold, cruel winters." And he says, "I think I'll be able to portray it greatly to bring them much entertainment while also honoring the memory of your friends." And he kind of like nods and says, "I thank you for taking the time out to speak with me. I know you didn't have to." And he says, "It's not much, but he says, I put on a show here every night, entertaining the farmers here as they come for their nightly drinks. He says, not much, but it's a living. And he says, you're free to stop by whenever you'd like. And he says,
Feel like you're appreciated here with your singing?
and he says, and he kind of like nods and says, well, yes, after a hard day's work, I certainly do appreciate being able to, take a load off and hear me spin my songs. Much work as it is to think up new ones every 10 days or so.
I understand.
So
Especially when your material is fields of wheat and cow pies.
so you don't travel that much.
And he sort of shakes his head and says, "No, I've a running deal here with the inn's owner. I provide the entertainment, and he provides the room and board." He says, "It's a arrangement I'm quite happy with."
I see.
And he says, "It's much better here than it was back where I grew up. I like it here more than in a big city like that." He says, "There's a lot of bad folks down that way." He says, "Had my fair share of run-ins with them. Thought to leave that life behind me for a more simple one."
That is understandable. I have not experienced much of city life myself, but from what I can see, it's not the easiest of lives of living.
City life is the best.
Of course, it is for people in our position, my lady. But not so much for everyone.
Right.
And someone who has lived in Waterdeep for a good portion of his life, I can certainly understand the allure of living in a place like this. It is very beautiful and serene out here. Not taking in consideration the flying boulders and such.
Yeah. Maybe a bit of a detriment, those bits.
Yes.
Can you guys stop planning to kill me in Discord chat while we play, please?
Well, I
No.
told you I would break your spine if you did it, and here you are.
Oh,
Mike,
man.
what's your eye color?
Oh, God. No, stop it.
It's fire and death.
Oh, man. All right, yeah, so you kind of like converse with him, sharing stories back and forth, whiling away the time. He buys you all sort of like another round of drinks, and, buys. And, yeah, you all kind of like enjoy your night off here, and eventually you all head to the rooms that you acquired, and basically bed down for the night.
How does it go with a guy in the tub?
I mean, he just like sits in the bathtub, just like,
We forget about him, and he soaks in there all night.
I think there's definitely like a few times where people like kind of like are walking by the road that leads past the tavern and kind of like doing like double takes.
I thought he was on the back.
Yeah, in the back of like the tavern, but the back of the tavern is just an open field.
Oh.
Fair enough. I'll make sure he gets like. Does anyone share a room with him?
No, I don't think so.
In that case, I would.
Okay.
I need to keep an eye on him.
Keep an eye on him. Sure.
I think we got 4 rooms, or
I believe so. Yeah, I think that sounds about right.
Okay. Well, yeah. Probably retire for the evening.
Yeah. Same.
You strike me as a brown-eyed man, Mike.
He is.
Thank you.
All right.
I don't know what to do, because he's not gonna have a spine to anymore. So I don't know what to do with him.
Did he have one to begin with?
I mean, Somewhere.
Physically, yes, but
Yeah, so you all spend the head to your rooms for the night. Get a nice refreshing night's sleep. And yeah, you guys wake up refreshed in the morning with a long rest.
as I said, I'm gonna spend some times with my books and change some spells.
Oh yes, let's look at some spells.
Just got removed curse instead, because yeah.
Cause reason.
1, 2, 3,
Yeah.
12.
Yeah, and so you all like sleep through the night, and then bright and early in the morning, you are all woken up by the rather harsh sound of a rooster sort of crowing first thing in the morning, and you can already hear like people kind of like up and about. Obviously, as you guys are like waking up, most of
That was a long rest, right?
yes, most of the patrons of this place don't actually stay here. They live in the town, so it's pretty empty when you come down in the morning. But Miros is there, kind of like cleaning things up, getting things ready, and he kind of like waves and says, "Good morning to you, travelers."
Good morning.
Hey, morning.
Good
Is there
morning.
nobody? So there's nobody else there. And
Yeah, it's pretty.
the
It's pretty
shell of a
like
guy?
it's pretty like barren.
Alright.
The only person that would maybe also be there, would be Orin the halfling, because he kind of like stays at the tavern. But the rest of the patrons are all farmers who like live here. So there's no reason for them to be here.
We saw the church on our way here, right?
Yeah, Shalvis like pointed it out to you.
Yeah.
Then
We
I'm
need directions.
gonna ask for some breakfast and something to, like a mug of water, and then be on my way. Be on our way.
Yeah, sure.
You're on our way.
He'll
You leave.
he'll get whip you up like a quick breakfast. Nothing fancy, but
No, I would do it like some bread and then some water.
I want lobster
lobster.
and a buck rub.
And a hand job as well while you're at it.
Wow.
Why do you have to ruin everything?
Yes.
Yeah, so
So
I
then-
assume you guys like after you guys kind of like have breakfast or whatever, get ready, you kind of like head outside,
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
and it's like I said,
The
it's
sun.
pretty early in the morning. It is summer, so the sun is kind of like rising at this point in time.
It burns.
So it's still like bright despite being so early in the morning, and you can see basically like it's almost like reminds you of just like the congestion of the city streets when you were in Waterdeep, as all of these farmers are like leaving their longhouse homes and basically like all kind of like going out for the day's work bright and early in the morning, as they are. There's like basically this huge crowd of people here in the center of this town, as you exit from the inn. Somewhat unexpected given how far away you are from like actual like major cities. But it seems even here there is some of the hustle and bustle, especially early in the morning. And as you're kind of like exiting, you see sort of like standing there with his shepherd's crook, kind of like leaned up against one of the statues of the building. The shepherd that kind of like guided you here yesterday night, and he kind of like waves as you exit, and he says, "I hope you all had a good night's sleep."
Hey, thanks for leading us here.
And he says, "It is my pleasure." And he says, "We do not often get travelers here." He says, "I like to make sure that they feel welcome." He says,
Sure did.
and he says, "Plus, Miros pays me a little bit extra for the business." And he kind of like chuckles. He's like, I kid. It's the only inn in town anyways."
Fair enough. Like, yeah.
If you don't mind my asking, what's the name of the cleric or priest
And he says,
that we may find?
I said,
My
well, you'll be looking for the abbot. Let me just see here. Where the fuck is his name? He says, yeah, but Eladin Derovic.
Aladdin or Aladdin?
Elardin.
Alardin.
And he says, though most people just call him Father Darovic. He's a
Fair enough.
he's a priest of Chontea. He says, he runs the
Right.
abbot. There are a number of acolytes beneath him.
A priest of what? Did you say?
Chontea. The goddess of the harvest and those sorts of things.
Yes. Okay.
Well, we should be on our way to see him then.
Hey.
I hope
Like,
you have an excellent day with your labor, and I hope to see you around.
He sort of like nods and says, it's like, well, I've still a few moments time before I need to get to work, before I get yelled at. And he says, would you like me to show you the way? It could be easy to get lost in the early morning bustle as people move out to the fields.
Oh, if you have nothing better to do, that would be very nice. Thank you.
Yes, it was very kind of you.
Yeah, so he sort of like nods and kind of like pushes off from where he was leaning, kind of like takes up his shepherd's crook, spins it around, and like puts it on his shoulder. And he says, right, follow me then. Try not to get lost in the crowds.
Hey.
And he begins to make his way off. Yeah, and as you pass down, he goes down past the stables, sort of to the south. And as you're there, you can see there is somebody that you see out front of the stables who looks almost as out of place as you all do. Talking to one of the stable hands, there is what appears to be an elderly, sort of like looking woman with kind of like darker brown skin. She's wearing these like absolutely kind of ridiculous looking ornate robes. She has sort of this like half beehive hairdo of gray, kind of like gray hair. And she has these like big kind of like jeweled earrings hanging from her ears, and like little like reading spectacles hanging on the bridge of her nose. And she seems to be like in a heated argument with one of the stable hands.
I poke at like the guy showing us the way, like nodding towards it, like what's going on over there?
And he sort of like looks over, and he's like, oh, just the old granny getting into a heated argument with the boys again. And he says, pay her no mind. She's not all too pleased with her recent appointment to this place. She says,
What kind of appointment?
and he says, from what I understand, the city likes to protect its interests here. She was sent here from some order of mages or something to look over the place. They send a new one every year. It seems it's her unlucky lot that she was assigned here this year. She does not seem to be growing accustomed to the simple things that we have here. Quite displeased by it.
Order of mages, you say?
He kind of like nods. It says, I'm not a city folk myself, so I wouldn't know exactly what the title is. Probably a Fender trying, but yeah, some sort of group.
I look over at Alexi, go like, maybe you should go talk to her.
James with BRB.
Still looking at Alexi.
Just staring awkwardly at Alexa.
Somebody has to do something. I guess I'm walking.
Slap her. Wake up!
I walk like, give us a second, can you? I start walking over to the lady.
Yeah, so as you kind of like walk over, you can like overhear her shouting, and she's like, and for the last time, I told you,
Hey,
bumbling
you
buffoons, not to go into my room. You mess everything up. And kind of like, you kind of like go like, hey, and she kind of like turns, like, what is it?
You look as much out of place as we do, don't you, love?
And she just sort of like sighs and says, it's that evident, is it? She says, of course, one of culture such as myself would look out of place amidst farmers and the likes.
So where are you from?
And she says,
What are you?
she just kind of like looks at you a little bit, just like flabbergasted, and she's like, "I'm from the city, Waterdeep." She says,
If he get it, you don't look like you're a farmer, so
and she kind of just says, "Is there something you needed with me, or is this just idle conversation?"
uh, let's just say, like, this fellow over here told us you're from a place of mages.
And she sort of like nods and says, "Yes, I am from the Watchful Order of Magists and Protectors." And he says, "Sent here by the city of Waterdeep as punishment for something I didn't do, or at least so I think. Why else would I be sent to such a backwater place as this?"
Because they trust you to be here and make sure everything's alright compared to the rest.
She just
They
sort of
trust you with like the whole, like, a lot of the food income on your own.
she just sort of like shrugs and she said, "If you want to protect a wall, you send an army, not a lone scholar."
But that's what I wanted to talk with you about. You're a scholar, right?
She says, "When I have access to my libraries at home, yes, but as of right now, I am just, well, dealing with what I have."
I might need your assistance for something.
And she just kind of like chuckles and he says, "Is that so?" And he says, "And why, pray tell, might I render unto you this assistance?"
A favor. We're here to help with the incursion of all the giants and stuff as well, so maybe we can help each other.
And she sort of like lets out kind of like a deep breath and says, "Not quite sure how exactly it is that you could help me, but perhaps I will humor you for the time being. What is it that you need from me?"
We found this guy with translucent skin, and if you're a scholar, maybe you know something about it.
Yeah, and I think probably as you're kind of like going out, especially into the harsh sunlight, Artian would have preferred to like stay at the inn, just out of sight. So he's not with you, but she says, "A man with strange skin, you say?" Says, "I'm
Exactly.
afraid
If
you're
you-
going to have to be a little bit more specific."
Exactly. We're trying to find this out. This is why I might ask you for your help, so you could help us figure what's wrong.
She sort of says, "Well, I could certainly take a look. I must admit, men with strange skin isn't exactly my field of specialty. However, I have read and studied much. Perhaps there is something I might know that could help you."
Exactly. And as you say, you were bored of what you have to do here on a daily basis. This is different.
"I will certainly give you that."
Exactly. I walk back to the, like, ask her to accompany us because we're gonna go get the priest as well, and then we're gonna go back and see if we can figure out what's wrong.
Yeah, and then as you're sort of like going to leave or whatever, and she says, "My name, by the way, thank you for asking, is Naxine Drothkala."
Hi, Sirak Thunderbeard. Sorry, I was a little bit rude of me not asking.
She just sort of like nods and says, "Well, I've come to expect such things in my stay here so far."
Don't expect the worst from these. They're so walkers folk. Not like
And he says, "I do not begrudge them their station in life. Just I wish somebody had taught them proper manners as they grew up."
you're saying this to a dwarf.
Yeah, and then I'll show you the basically picture there.
Ah. What is that?
What is what?
What is what?
I heard some sounds in the background of somebody, like a
Yeah, it
voice.
was my PlayStation.
Oh.
Hey, so we'll make our way to the priest and then back again?
And then back to the inn.
Yes. Because he didn't want to join because it's sunlight outside.
Yes.
Suspicious.
By the way, that reminds me, we should buy some garlic.
silver, garlic, everything.
I mean, the reason he didn't want to join is more so he doesn't want people staring at him.
Let us make our own conclusions, okay?
Oh yeah. So yeah, you guys kind of go to head to the abbey. And she says, "Well, I will be here upon your return. Then I have not
Hey.
anywhere better to be for the time being."
Thank you. Most appreciated.
And Chavez is just sort of like nods. It's like, right. Well then, if you're done talking to the cranky old lady, let us be off.
Hey.
And yeah, he kind of like again, kind of like begins leading you down the path, and kind of like cuts. You get to the main road that kind of cuts across the width of the settlement from kind of like wall to wall. And you can see either wall like way off in the distance. And I don't know if Thor has been like playing around or noticing yet, but basically like the scale of this map's pretty huge. Like this place is like miles across.
I have had a look. It's like a bit big.
So it is a journey to get from like even just one end of the town to the other, as spread out as it is. But you kind of get past these row of houses, off towards the main kind of clearing here. You can see there's kind of like that big open aired park in the center. Obviously, there's kind of like nobody there right now, except that you do see walking through kind of like the middle of the field, what appears to be a massive like tree with like big sort of like full branches, and kind of like a bushy leaves that seem to have been meticulously kind of like trimmed back into like patterns. And you can see that he is kind of like slowly lumbering back and forth, waving the branches kind of around. And on these branches, you see a number of small children kind of like climbing around, swinging from the branches. Many of them are kind of like crowded around his like root-like feet. And you can see this tree. It has a face. Like a man's face almost, with this kind of like big mossy beard and like bushy moss eyebrows, and he's kind of like playfully waving his boughs around as the children are kind of like playing and like screaming around him.
Is that a walking tree?
Shellis just sort of laughs and it's like, it's of course one of many in this place actually. And he says, though the only one you're like to see unless things get real bad. And he says, that's old Leaferless. He's been here longer than anybody who can even remember. And he says, legend has it long ago that he was awakened by a druid of the Emerald Enclave, and he protects this place, looks after the children, and entertains them while their parents are away at work.
Huh.
I look up at Sir Almer and go like, "That's one big babysitter, ain't it?"
So
That's one way to put it, yes.
Yeah,
That's
it's like
more-
a huge tree. He's like probably like 15 feet tall.
that is very, very strange. Quill's probably like staring at this tree that's just moving. Probably never seen a tree move before. Or
No.
it's like
I feel kind of uncomfortable watching this. Yeah, let's keep moving, shall we?
yes, I'm sure it's fine.
Wait, maybe we... well, maybe we should have checked what we were eating last night. Somebody slipped something into our beverages.
Live for lass. Ha.
I'm not a tree. I'm an ant.
Yes.
Yeah, but so you spend the rest of the time again. It's kind of like you're basically walking for maybe like 15 minutes before you actually get to where the abbey is. It's about like a mile or so away. But as you approach, you can see again there is this sort of large, elaborate stone building that you can see the outer walls at the corners have these statues of Shantea, her hands kind of like raised to the sky, looking as though she's casting a spell or a prayer to like summon rain. And you can see there are a number of well-tended hedges and gardens kind of surrounding the foundation of this building. And set above the entrance and the steps that kind of lead up to it, there's this sort of like sun-shaped window of stained glass. And then there's kind of like narrower windows of stained glass every so often along the front and sides that have images of kind of like wheat, fruits, vegetables, cornucopias, kind of just images of that kind of theme around them. And you can see there's basically a big kind of like bell tower towards the back. The doors are currently sort of like open. And you can see there are a number of people congregating here first thing in the morning. It's actually pretty like crowded. And he says, it is about time for the morning's prayer, so he's probably going to be a bit busy for some time. But we can stay and observe, perhaps.
Yes, I wouldn't mind that.
And as he's saying this, you all kind of like, some of you maybe like instinctively like reach to cover your ears as all of a sudden the bell starts going dung 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 dung.
I take it. I like it.
ringing in the sort of like morning's prayer. And so you all are kind of like gathered around. There's actually no like room in the chapel anymore by the time you guys get there. It's basically just like packed full, so you're kind of like outside, but you can hear like even outside you can hear the voice of whoever is speaking sort of booming out across the room. And there's actually like a congregation of people with you outside, just kind of like gathered around the front, and you can hear this booming voice sort of over everybody, basically kind of just giving this prayer prayer and scripture of Chantea, sort of like the Earth Mother, asking her to bless today's workers as they tend the fields, to quell any blight that might appear, to grant the city a great harvest this year, etc., etc. You know, just simple things like that. And eventually, after like 30 minutes or so, the sermon kind of like ends and people begin to leave the area. Heading off to their day's work, and things very quickly kind of like dissipate, and you're soon sort of like left standing alone outside. The doors are still sort of like slightly open, and you can see somewhat into the cathedral proper.
That took way longer than I thought. What's this tree, man?
Shut up.
You're gone, James. You missed everything.
Yes, so I will walk into the church.
All right. So as you go to walk into the church, what's your passive perception, if you don't mind me asking?
I think it's 12. Give me a second, I'll double check.
Do you want mine too? I walked into.
No, just Thor's.
Yes, it's 12.
Okay. So as you're walking up to go through the door, you don't notice it, but somebody comes out from the side of the door and like is quickly going to like leave, and you end up bumping into them, kind of like knocking them aside. Whoever they were much like smaller than you in frame, and as you turn over, you can see a woman, kind of who has been like kind of like knocked against the wall and kind of like on the floor by your like larger form. She is dressed in kind of like plain brown sort of like acolyte's attire, and she's carrying a like a quarterstaff on her back, and her hair, she has like long kind of like black hair that's been tied back into a sort of like up like a high ponytail, and she has sort of she has the facial features of a human from like the Far East. And she's kind of just like rubbing her back, and she's like, watch where you are going.
My apologies. I should have been more careful.
Yeah, so she sort of like begins to like pull herself up, and she says, yes, well, I suppose I should have done the same. He says, sorry, I was in a bit of a furor. He says, my words fall on deaf ears in this place.
Your words?
And she sort of nods and says, "This place, it is in danger." I said, "We have already been attacked once." I said, "We are going to be attacked again, and the guard captain is doing nothing about it. I have tried to tell the abbot this, but he will not listen to me."
I says,
Attacked by what?
I'm assuming the giants.
Yeah, so am I, but in case there's something else, I mean. Yeah, you mean the giants attacks?
She sort of like nods and says, "They had already attacked the walls once, but it was strange. They only attacked from a distance, and when the guards fired arrows, they beat a hasty retreat. I think they were scouting, testing the defenses. They are going to come back with a stronger force. And our walls are ill-prepared to stop them. There are miles of these walls that are unpatrolled day and night. They could easily slip past."
I look up at Alamir and Alquil and go like, "You're experienced fighters, as am I, and sounds like she's actually right. It sounds like a scouting patrol."
I says,
Yeah, quite right.
Sure.
Well,
Throwing boulders at the wall just to see how much it can hold, and then once they're being busted, they have to get back with a message, so they run.
yeah. Madam, we are actually here about the giant threat, and after the sermon and a small other mission we have, we are intending to go and speak to the guard captain about this matter as well.
And she sort of nods and says, "Perhaps you can talk some sense into that big, thick skull of his." He says, "He will not listen to me. He thinks that he knows everything, but he does not know everything. In fact, I am willing to bet that he knows nothing."
it's, I see.
Certainly something. Hey,
And
Well,
she sort of says, "This is what happens when people get promoted into positions based on their family and not on their actual ability."
I feel like that's a honestness that I'm not going to touch. But I am. Allow me to introduce myself. I am Alquil Redmoon, and these are my companions. That gesture to the others.
Yeah. So
Sir Alamir de Ganis.
Sirak Thunderbeard.
Alexei Cadencia von Bourbon.
Yeah, so she sort of like bows and she's kind of gives this elaborate kind of like elaborate bow, and she says, "I am Jilang. It is a pleasure to make your acquaintance." He says, "It is good to see you here. I know that Strahd has not called for adventurers such as yourself to come here, as the abbot has requested of him, but the fact that you are here nonetheless perhaps bodes well." He says, "Though I hope that we are not attacked while you are here." She says, "I would prepare for the worst if I were you."
Hey.
Hey.
Oh, it's Mulan. No.
Celian.
Where's she from? Where's the Asia in Forgotten Realms?
To the east.
Show, I think it's to the east. Yeah, far east.
Okay. I should make a weeb character.
Shut up.
What? Why? Morton did it.
No, it didn't.
No, it didn't.
He made like a samurai and stuff.
Yeah.
An
But she
elf.
Of
was,
course, given how far spread humans are in general, you can't. There's probably a good chance, given how far away she is from there, she's not actually from there. Like she was probably like born and raised nearby.
Right. That's fair enough.
and if you talk about Malfuriana, she was still not Asian.
The Malfurion, the elf that had
Oh.
the beginning of
Yeah,
Legacy.
but my first samurai, Malfuriana, she
Yes,
was
yes.
still not Asian.
But no, I meant the one in this game. That
Yeah,
whatever it
That
was.
was an elf.
Yes. Right. Well, we will speak to the God Captain after we've seen to another matter.
Hey.
So it was nice meeting you.
I said, "Yes, it is a pleasure. Now, if you don't mind, I am going to go patrol the walls before the next sermon." I said, try to fill up some of the gaps in its defenses.
If something happens, we're staying at the inn, there's only one, so you probably know which one it is. But, you can get a hold of us there if we're there.
She sort of like nods and says, of course, if I have need of you or something happens, I will find you. And she turns and then begins to kind of like walk off like at a steady kind of like jog. And she's like pretty quick, like she moves pretty quick. And so
I move into the church now, keeping a closer eye on where the fuck I'm going.
So make a perception check for me as you kind of like enter into the church proper.
I swear.
Me too.
What are we rolling?
I swear, if I bump into another person.
No, Alquil's just asking to actively perceive. So, all right. So you definitely see this as you go into the chapel. There's like a bit of a time, a moment where you kind of your eyes have to adjust to the different lighting inside than outside. But as you kind of like blink your eyes, you see off to your right hand side in the shadows. Kind of like creeping towards your position, low on the ground, on all fours, a massive bear with kind of like black fur. It's kind of like slowly lumbering towards your position, like nose out as if it's like sniffing.
Huh.
And in fact, as you see this one, you kind of like do a double take, and then out of the corner of your eye, you see another one approaching you from the other side.
I'll animal handling to try to read their intent.
Sure. Okay. Their body language is pretty obvious. Given the gesture they're sort of making, like sniffing at the air. They're obviously kind of like smelling to see if you have like food or anything like that. There's no ill intent in their posture from what you can see.
All right. Well, I ignore the bears for now. Continue onwards. I'll look at the bears and I'll just say, like, sorry, don't have any food for you.
I take out the ration and I sit down and like share it with the bears.
Me and Zerk feeds Alexei to the bears.
No.
And I'll go further into the church to find the priest.
Right. So as you're doing that, Zerk, you pull out some kind of like trail rations. The bears like see this and kind of come like bounding over towards you, very quickly, kind of like growling as they snatch it up out of your hand, happily, kind of like munching down on it. And then you hear this sort of like chuckling voice in the back of the hall as Alquil, you see stepping out from a back room. This kind of like not really old, like probably like middle-aged human man dressed in kind of like priestly garb, a little bit more impressive than the acolyte that you just saw. And you see there's a holy symbol of Chontea hanging around his neck, and he says, "Darlow and Tilby, those old scammers." He said, "It is a wonder they have not grown so fat, given how much they eat in a single day." And he kind of like looks around and he says, "Farmers you are not, that much I can tell." He says, "Tell me, what is it that brings you to my humble chapel?"
Is this Yoda?
I expected
Farmers you're not,
Farmers you're not.
He's small and green and pointy-eared. No. And says it's like, no, we're travelers. We were sent from Waterdeep to investigate the recent attacks, but that is not the reason we are here right now. I am Alcor Redmond. These are my companions. We can't come because we met a man who seems to have fallen with some sort of affliction. He was being attacked and almost eaten by birds when we saved him.
Large birds.
Now the harshness of the sun burns his skin, and his skin has grown translucent, and he constantly has to cool himself off. We were hoping that perhaps your priests or someone here would have the healing capabilities to look him over and make sure that he's all right.
he says,
Or at
That
least
is-
figure out what could be done about it. As we have no idea what it is.
that is truly an alarming situation. He says, this man, he is in your company, I assume, though I do not see anyone who matches his description.
He is in the tavern. He did not wish to leave this morning.
As the sun burns his skin.
He kind of
Yes.
like nods and he says, is that so? He says, how unfortunate for someone to not be able to take in the light of Shantaea's blessing upon their skin. And he says, I will go to him then, before the next prayer. I have some time. He says, Darlo,
Thank you.
Tilby, look over this place. And the two bears just sort of, yeah, he kind of like walks forth and says, show me to this lost lamb.
Yes, of course. And I'll turn around and start heading back.
Yeah.
Let's pick up the old lady on the way.
Yeah, as you sort of like leave the area, you can see Chalvis is sort of standing there, and he says, well, it seems as though you have met who you've come to speak with. I must get to the fields, start looking after the oxen. And he says, I will be back at the inn tonight.
Thank you. Much appreciated for your help.
Aye.
Yeah, and he kind of like waves and kind of like strides off back towards like the main gate where you kind of like first saw him. And yeah, the abbot sort of like smiles and says, I see you have made friends with Chalvis. A good head on that one's shoulders. A hard worker. I can tell that he truly cares for the animals that he looks after.
Yes, he's a very friendly man.
And he says, indeed, a far cry from when he first wandered into here. A lost little lamb as he was.
What was he in trouble or?
And he says, I, of course, did not pry, given the fact it was not any of my business, but I could tell that he seemed worried when he came here. He looked a man on the run, from something, a dark past, or somebody who didn't agree with him. He says, he spent much of his early years hiding away from sight. It took much time for him to be comfortable and take up his role as shepherd.
Can't say I'm unfamiliar with that kind of person. We see a lot of them up north as well. But
He sort of says,
far away from.
he kind of like nods. He says, from what I understand, he does not like to talk about it. Nobody around here knows where he came from, but he's a hard worker, and that is all that matters here. We do not judge people based on who they were, just who they are.
As it should be.
Yeah, so you kind of like go back with him to the inn, and I assume like lead him up to where Artan is kind of like staying, knocking on the door. He says like, come in, and yeah, you all come in to the room with the abbot. And immediately as he sees Artan's condition, the abbot's just sort of like shocked, and he says,
By the way, we brought the old cranky woman as well.
of course, yeah. So you like stop by and bring her
Yeah.
as well. And so they're kind of like gathered in the room. You're all kind of like outside because again, it's not a small room, but it's not big enough for like all of you to be crowded in
No.
there.
I'll go in and join them because cleric and stuff.
Yeah, they begin to look over the man, and let me see here as they kind of investigate him. Let's see here.
Can I help him on the rolls?
No, I don't. Well, what are your proficient skills?
I am proficient in insight, athletics, perception, religion.
So you could probably help the father as he's looking him over. But whatever the wizard is doing, you have no idea what any of that is.
Alexa can help her. Probably. Maybe.
What do I need to do?
If you would like to help the mage as she's performing her investigations over the afflicted noble, you can do so. Being as
Oh yes, then I shall. I'll offer the help action.
Okay. So they look over. Let's see here. So we'll do the priest. He has a plus that. Okay, and the
Whew.
mage.
Glad I helped.
Has a that. Okay. So
Glad you helped as well.
the the two of them begin sort of doing their investigations, and it's a lengthy process. Probably takes like 10-15 minutes. The priest is sort of like muttering prayers and kind of looking over the man, kind of like asking questions, while the mage is just kind of like taking notes, observing, casting a few spells to try to figure things out. And then probably kind of like both of them at the same time are like turn. They're like, it is quite clear that this man is suffering from a disease beyond the natural ken of things. And the old woman kind of like nods and says, yes, indeed, something more supernatural. And he says, quite powerful at that. He says, I casted some. So you go over to cast remove curse.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
when they say that's like something magical, I kind of just step past while they're explaining and just put my hand on his knee and just.
Yeah, so you cast that spell. There is like no noticeable like immediate effect as you do that, and I think given that he's like a priest, he probably like recognizes the spells that you're casting, and he says, "I applaud your selflessness and quickness to action. However, I don't think that is going to be enough. Whatever is afflicting him, it is powerful, incredibly powerful. I could tell that much. I tried a minor incantation to remove simple diseases, and it failed entirely." He says, whatever is afflicting this man, you would need a priest far more advanced and powerful than myself.
So, at the mention of like the supernatural and such, I'll just peek my head in through the door. Just do this.
You do not detect any celestial fiends or undead, nor do you detect consecrated or desecrated land.
Cool. Good to get that confirmed.
And so the mage kind of got a little bit higher. Says, this is something I am not entirely sure about. I would have to consult with my research a little bit further, but I believe I have heard of a case such as this before, and perhaps I might be able to investigate it further.
That will be much appreciated.
Hey,
She says, give me some time. I will look into this matter. I now have the full run of his symptoms, and I might be able to cross-reference them with some of my catalogs. Perhaps figure out what it is that is afflicting this man and what might be done to bring an end to it.
I look over at the priest and I go like, could you take care of him? We have a lot of other businesses to do in town. And
So he says, I will task one of the acolytes with looking after this man's safety, as I, of course, have to run the sermons, but...
of course, I'm just... Yeah.
I kind of like
And we have to speak with you on another matter as well.
he sort of says, is that so? And kind of like brushes himself off. And he says, well, we have some time yet before the
We can follow you back to your church and talk about it on the way if you like.
I said, of course. He says, I have done what I can here for this man.
Hey.
Yeah, so you guys leave. The elderly mage goes basically back to her room to
Study.
study. Yeah, to try to figure out more about what is afflicting this nobleman. While you guys begin walking back to the abbey. And as you're kind of like,
grab something to drink.
of course. So yeah, as you guys are walking back, the abbot kind of like turns to you and says, I am curious what it is that brings you folks here. Were you summoned here by the guard captain, as I asked him?
No, we have not been. We were sent here by the Blackstaff Tower of Waterdeep. They had heard rumors of the giant attack and wanted us to investigate it.
He says, is that so? Rumors of such a thing have gotten that far south, have they?
Indeed. Indeed they have.
He says, well, I do not know much of the situation, only what I was reported by Captain Thunderblade. But if you've any questions, perhaps I might be able to answer them for you as to the nature of this attack.
It's my understanding you're not sure what kind of giants it was that were that attacked you. Is this true, or have you some idea, inclination?
He says, well, from what I have heard, the reports that we have received, I believe it to be hill giants. He says, from the scouts' descriptions, it could be no other, in my mind.
What makes you so sure?
And he says, given their description as dirty, fat, and stupid.
Yes, that does indeed fit with what I know of hill giants. So, do you have any idea where they came from?
And he sort of like shakes his head and says, no, they attacked the northern end of the city, presumably coming from somewhere in the Detherin Hills. However, it is dangerous to wander through those lands, and so we have been unable to track them or follow them any further, and it is not really our place to do so. It is better for us to stay and fortify and defend these walls than to go ranging out after an enemy we might not ever find.
You see, have you heard any other news of any other settlements that have been attacked?
And he says, indeed, I have word has passed through travelers, merchants coming through this place, that another settlement not far from here, to the southeast, was itself recently attacked, perhaps about a month ago. And he said, a small place, once a hunting lodge, I believe. And he says, I do not know much about it, but I believe the place was called Nightstone.
Nightstone, okay.
I said, reports from what I have heard was that some sort of structure appeared in the sky and began raining boulders down upon the city. Many perished, but there were some survivors as well. The city has been unfortunately lost beyond repair.
I see. So it is abandoned now.
He kind of like nods.
That is unfortunate.
So the lord and lady of the place had unfortunately perished. Not in the attack, mind you. Well, from what I understand, the lady did perish in the attack, but the lord had died many, many months prior of some sort of sickness.
Ah, that is unfortunate news. So I suppose there wouldn't be much reason to go there to try to speak to any survivors if they've already left.
He says, perhaps not. He says, like I said, these are rumors and hearsay from merchants who heard it from other merchants, who heard it from travelers, who perhaps heard it from the refugees.
Yes. That is the way the news travel, isn't it? Do you have any idea what the giants might have wanted attacking this city?
And he says, attacking a place such as this, there is only one thing any invading force stands to gain. And he says, that is our substantial resources, our stockpile of grains and fruits, vegetables. And he says, food.
Yes, that's true. And this is also the major food supply of Waterdeep, is it not?
And he sort of like nods and says, we provide much of the materials to Waterdeep to feed the people. And he says, and beyond, our wares reach even as far north as the frigid Icewind Dales, though rarely. And he says,
Yes, that's perhaps true.
and he says, I wager that given the conditions in much of this savage frontier, a farm like this wouldn't exactly be sustainable anywhere else. It is thanks to the blessings of Shantea and the work of the Emerald Enclave that we are able to maintain this place, even despite of the harsh conditions. And he says, nary a plate across the north would go with fruit and vegetable were it not for us.
That is very interesting and also probably true. I don't believe I've ever seen a farm such as this. Says, perhaps the old farmstead here and there, but never anything as vast and bountiful as this. They're looking around as we're walking. Says,
It's probably almost there at this point.
yeah, I say. So it would probably be correct to say that if one were to take the Goldenfields, one would potentially have cut off a large food supply to, for instance, Waterdeep, which would put the city on the great strain.
He sort of kind of nods and says, I am not a man with logistics and that sort of thing within my head, but from my rudimentary understanding, and he says, it would be a great blow to the supply lines across the north. He says, not just Waterdeep. He says many places would struggle without the sustenance we provide.
I see.
Said,
But speaking
that,
about
I said that is the reason for our great walls and the guards that patrol them. Unfortunately, budget is tight, and they are not as well fortified as I would perhaps like. And he says,
yes,
many stretches of the wall have gone, well, unmaintained for too long.
I see. And the guard captain has not requested reinforcements from Waterdeep. At least I have not heard of that.
He sort of shrugs and says, I leave things in the capable hands of those who know better than I. I gave him the suggestion that he should seek to bolster his guard, hire on mercenaries and sellswords. Though our coin purses are tight, there is funds we can dip into for such emergencies. He says, but I do not question the knowledge and understanding of these sorts of things that Captain Thunderblade has.
The thing is, you're right. There should be more people on the walls.
And he sort of like nods and says, I said, there should be. It's just a matter of whether or not those people are available and can be trusted. And he says, I am sure that Captain Thunderblade is doing everything that he can in his power to ensure the defense of Goldenfields is bolstered should another attack come.
Yes. I'm sure he's doing his best. We will go speak to the good captain soon. Do you know where we could find him at this time of day?
He says, the same place you can find him most times of the day, assuming he is not out on patrol or checking up on one of the guard houses. And he says, the guard captain's barracks and the likes, they are sort of a half thrown together fortification. There is a tower that has been attached to the Golden Gulp Brewery on the back of the building that serves as headquarters for the guard, mainly due to its centralized location within the compound.
I'm trying to look at this map, try to find out.
And he says, you can't miss it. If you just follow the road north out of the main townstead, past the fields of wheat, you'll see the orchards where they grow the fruits. There is another sort of small collection of buildings there. The largest of them is the brewery for the Golden Gulp. And he says, the tower is attached to the back. You can't miss it.
Very well.
Hey.
Hey. You want to say something, Morten?
No, I said I.
Hey.
I'm gonna
Okay.
go. Like,
Thank you for the information.
you better get moving then.
Yes. May Gueron Lindstrom and Shantea watch over you.
And he sort of like nods and says, and you as well. He said, may the Earth Mother bless your days with bountiful harvests and hearty meals.
Thank you. Same to you. And,
Let us make our way to the guard captain.
the guard captain's fingers.
Hey.
All right.
Oh,
So you once again kind of like pass by the main square, where that kind of like tree is basically like entertaining children, and past a number of the fields. There's basically like a road you go around, and then there's a road that goes like straight up, kind of like to the central point of town. It's about 2.5 miles, so it takes you about like 40 minutes to get there. Walking past these like massive fields, but you do eventually see on the horizon a smaller clustering of buildings, and you see in the center of this cluster of buildings there is a sort of stately-looking two-story manse with a number of kind of like vats and the likes kind of outside. And a few like other like longhouse buildings, similar to the ones back in town, where you presume like staff of the brewery live. And there is a like massive sort of like stone warehouse building next to this this manse. But in the back of this brewery, there is a tall cylindrical watchtower, and you can see that it is pretty obvious and open, looking out over the fields and the orchards all around. And like I said, it's pretty tall, probably about like 100 feet or so.
Well, then just make our way there then, I guess.
All right. Yeah. So you walk up to there, and there's a couple of guards standing at the base of the tower. And you can see there's probably about like 3 or 4 more at the top as you're like walking up. And the 2 guards sort of like stop you and says, Hold it there. What business do you have at the Dragon Spire?
Hey, we're here to talk with the captain about the rising giant intrusion that's going on around there.
They kind of like look at each other and they say, one moment. I'll go see if he's in. And one of the guards enters into the tower. And then a few minutes pass before he comes back, and following after him, you see this rather large, kind of like maybe like 6.5 foot tall male half orc, kind of like dark green skin. You can see one of his tucks are quite large, but one of them looks as though it's like been snapped off and kind of like broken in half. And you could see that he is wearing like chainmail armor, but it almost looks like you can just see, like looking at it, the chain, like the stress on the chains as they're kind of like bulging outwards. And it definitely looks like he's got something of a beer belly on him. And he kind of like walks out into the sun, and he's like, "What is it? You needed to see me about something?" And kind of like looks around and says, "I don't remember calling for mercenaries."
We're not mercenaries. We're not here to get paid from you. We are here because of the giants and a whole other bunch of things that's going on.
We were sent by a Blackstaff Tower to investigate the increasing giant threat.
Yeah, so he sort of like chuckles, like, and he says, "Fancy," and he says, "Well, as you can see, things are going just fine here. No giant threat is going to get into my town." He says,
We just fought the giant not far from the town here.
and he says, "Well, if it was outside the walls, then that's Waterdeep's problem. It is their guard not patrolling the roads properly. My job is to defend these walls and this town. What happens beyond them is not my business."
How many guards do you have on the walls altogether? How many guards do you have?
And he says, "Quite a few. Let me just like,
I can't tell you that. That's classified information.
classified information." Yeah, he's like, "There's quite a few, but sort of information that I don't willingly give to random travelers on the road."
Fair enough.
Suffice it to say, there are a number of guardhouses along the walls, each of them fully staffed, day and night.
Hey,
What you have to say about the
Why'd you laugh like that?
what do you say about the attack that occurred not too long ago?
And yeah, he says, "Attack! Huh! Some stupid giants wandered a little bit too close to the walls and thought they were bigger than their britches." And he says, "They were repelled with ease. Barely even any damage sustained to the walls. I would hardly call it an attack."
Well, that might be because it wasn't meant as an attack.
Hey.
You haven't considered the fact that they were trying you out, seeing what you would do.
And
This guy sounds lovely.
and he says, "Of course I had considered it, but given the disposition of hill giants and their rather lowly intelligence, I believe such a thing is beneath them. Or rather, beneath their understanding."
I say in Dwarfish to whoever understands, like, low brains. Hey, they are. Right. Fucking idiot.
You might want to consider that behind these hill giants are someone in control, somebody issuing commands the same as you are. I think you're doing yourself a great service in underestimating these attacks and brushing them off as mere inconveniences.
And he sort of says, He says, "These walls have withstood armies. They have withstood attacks from far greater threats for centuries." And he says, "And we have never felt the need to overreact to a mere ancillary force." He says, "I am not going to waste money on a problem that does not exist. Our guards are well trained, our walls well defended. If the abbot is sent you here to pester me, you can assure him of this."
Like we said, we came on behest of the Blackstaff Tower in Waterdeep, seeing as they have
Indeed.
concerns about this. And I hate to say it, but it sounds like you're underestimating the situation here. You say that nobody has broken through the walls and you feel safe. That's probably why they were testing it out. They are trying to figure out a way to get through, and if they do, I don't think you'll like it when giants are inside the walls.
Won't even last a night.
And,
They get through.
and that is where we must agree to disagree then, because they will not get through these walls.
Captain, just because you say so doesn't make it so.
You can never be 100% sure they're not going to get through.
He says, "Even if that is true, even if just because I say so, it does not make it so, hundreds of years of history and proof that these walls have held through all of it, that makes it so." And he says, "There is no reason to throw money at a problem that doesn't exist. Our walls are well defended. We do not have need of mercenaries who cannot be trusted."
What is your
Times
plan?
change, Captain, and our enemies change with it.
Yeah, so he says, perhaps that is the case. He says, "But I think you should leave the defense of military fortifications to men with military minds."
I look at Alquill and roll my eyes.
And
I
he says, "You adventurers are good at fighting. I'll give you that." He says, "If I've need of a strike force to eliminate an entrenched enemy position, I would hire adventurers. If I have needs of men to defend a wall, I hire an army."
Quite true, but I must say, as you put it, we are not here to help you defend the city. We are here to try to help you make sure you don't have to defend your city. We're trying to understand the recent increase in giant activity and quell it before it becomes out of hand.
And he says, "Well, in that regard, I cannot assist you. I know not why they have been so thusly angered." And he says, "But perhaps you can turn to simple explanations that occur much in nature. Something somewhere has disturbed their supply chain, and they have grown angry and ranged out beyond their normal lands, searching for that which does not reside within their home."
And I look at
Maybe
him and I
quite
go-
possible.
and I look at him like, and if something disturbs giants' food chains, maybe you should be worried.
And he says, "I will be worried about it when we hear word of such a thing actually existing. It was merely a hypothesis."
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to interfere with the way you run the defense of the city. That's not why we're here. We do, however, like any help you can give, information, anything about the giants, any more detailed information about the recent attack that the hill giants did, where they came from, where if you have any inkling on where they might be camped, how many of them there might be, and possible routes we can take to go find them without getting ambushed or losing our bearings.
Yeah, so he sort of like nods. Says, I can provide you that much, I think. And he says, if you would like, he kind of like pulls out like a rudimentary like map of the settlement that just has, and you can see there are a number of kind of like figures arranged on it, and he kind of like points at one of the watchtowers with his finger, sort of like tapping on it, and he says, the scouts that saw the incursion that day are assigned to this watch post. You may go and hear their account firsthand.
Very good.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Captain. We will do so. And, well, Godspeed in your duties. Duty.
Poop.
Sorry. And I take
We're
a quick bow, and I guess we take the rudimentary map and we leave.
Wow, he gave you directions.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so you guys like leave the tower. The guards kind of like nodding as you pass by. And yeah, you're now you're kind of like over like here-ish, amidst like the orchard fields here.
Oh my god, he was a fucking idiot. Oh, Jesus Christ, this fucking place is doomed.
Who's Jesus?
Well, maybe we can do something about that. Alquel, maybe we should impose upon good Shalvus and see if he knows the lay of the land and could show us around.
Shalvus. Oh, yeah, Shalvus, yes.
We could surely compensate him for his time.
Why did you imagine him as a British officer?
Because he sounded about as arrogant.
Whoa, now. British officers were very competent, people appointed to their post based on credit and merit.
At
Mm-hmm.
least they think they're competent, just like he does.
Sure.
British Army was one of the most effective fighting forces in the world for the longest time.
Mm.
Wouldn't
Sure.
expect some sort of second-rate
yes,
nation
when-
like Norway to
when-
understand, though.
Of course, they were one of the most effective fighting forces when fighting people who had no defense against what they had.
Excuse me, the British Expeditionary Force saved France in the First World War.
Oh, that was a lot to save.
You only had to save France because the Vikings fucked it up.
Shut the fuck up.
Anyways, back to D&D. Yeah, so you guys exit from the tower, and you were given instructions, basically to just like follow the roads north, and like the first watchtower there. There's a staircase you can go up and speak with some of the scouts there who were the ones that kind of dealt with the attack, quote unquote. And yeah, as you're kind of like leaving from the building, discussing amongst yourselves your opinions on the man, whatever they may be, you begin walking down the road. You could see kind of to your right hand side as you're walking past like the brewery. There's like this large kind of a grove of trees here, all nestled around a sort of like spring lake that seems to just like sort of spring up and then flow off from here. And to your left hand side as you're walking is something probably like Alquil is like kind of pretty like interested in. There's like rows of trees, like basically like planted purposely in rows, that are all of them have like hanging from their like branches and amidst the leaves these like round orange things that like Alquil has never seen before.
That's called fruit.
Well, I've probably seen fruit, maybe.
No.
Possibly. I mean, it's pretty rare up north. Like,
Your diet consists of raw meat and bark. I feel like we glossed the Shalvis issue. Should we find him and inquire as to his enlist his services as a guide?
what do you wish to enlist the services for?
A local guide to find our way through the vegetation, the mountains.
Ah,
We don't know what lives out there, or if there are any hidden crevices and whatnot.
we could perhaps do that.
I'm certainly not familiar with this area, at least.
Yes, I'm not familiar with the outside of the outside of Dales either. But
Accustomed to the outsides in general.
but
Yes, I suppose you miss your. Sorry, Master Dwarf. What kind of a dwarf are you?
Hill dwarf.
Hills. Okay. So why aren't you accustomed to the outside?
Just because we're hill dwarfs doesn't mean we don't live in caves.
I suppose I don't know that much about dwarves. Anyway, what were those things on the trees? I wonder. Have I seen them?
You know what they are. You live not that far. They're oranges.
Right. Oh, right.
Yeah.
But Alco has never seen them before.
yeah, I'm just.
I think probably the only thing that Alco has ever seen that's actually made it up there is maybe like apples.
I hope so.
Winter apples.
Well, let's But
Actually, I'll pick one. I'll pick if one of them looks ripe. I'll pick one and give it to him.
Yeah, you can grab one.
Yeah.
Nobody seems to mind. There's so many of them.
It's a fruit. It's a very pleasant fruit. Just to remove the scales or the shell before you eat it.
I'll grab one too.
Sure, I say.
Can't reach.
That is orange and it's like let's see. Do I have I think I might have a knife. I
Yeah, so
might have...
you grab it in your hand and it's got this
Yeah,
like,
sword, damn
it's
it!
got this like thick outer skin.
I think Thor knows what an orange is.
Yeah, I know.
I'll use the magical dagger. that I
Yes,
have.
the magical dagger to cut up an orange.
I just set my teeth in it to like get the hold of the skin and I pull it off.
And I'll peel the orange with the dagger.
I'll get an orange too.
Cool. We should have an orange stream sometime.
No, too many oranges. That's it. You've hit your quota, your limit.
Yep. We are now under arrest.
Yeah. So yeah, Alquil, you take a bite into the orange, and again, it's kind of like an unfamiliar flavor to you. This very like kind of like, acidic kind of like zest to it. Whether or not he likes it, I mean, that's up to him.
Yeah,
They're so fresh.
very strange tastes.
Yeah, it's
Burnt.
actually surprisingly juicy and fresh. I feel like this entire place is a little bit. I don't know what to say. Supernatural. There's something off about it.
Well,
It's
whatever
too-
it is, these oranges are great.
Yes, it's ridiculously bountiful.
Are they really called oranges?
Mm-hmm.
I
Because they're orange.
Yes, I can see that. I was.
You're going to have to inquire that with the person who grew them the first time.
Yeah. What else
We
are they
don't-
gonna call them? Yellows?
Well,
slap her on the back of the head.
apples aren't called reds now, are they?
Because they're sometimes green, aren't they?
That's,
Oranges are always
There's-
orange.
There's apples that aren't red. What?
I think those apples are rotten, Alexei.
No. Sometimes apples aren't always red. Have you never seen non-red apples?
All apples are red.
No, they're not.
Alcohol, there are green apples as well. There are yellowish apples. There are many types. So,
Yeah.
any
so as
other
you guys,
agenda to be addressed first, or shall we
I
see
think we
if...
should the scouts first. We don't need to bother Salvos until we have to leave Goldenfields, if that is what
Indeed.
I got juice all over myself, and now I'm sticky. I'm
you're.
gonna get some water from my alchemy jug and.
But
You don't have it.
you
Oh
have
no!
Give it
You-
to Gordon.
You gave it to the sick man who's, drenching himself with water every now and again.
I thought. Oh yeah. I suppose he can't stay in the bath the whole time, can he?
And now
Fair point.
he can't be a French revolutionist.
Yeah, so you guys continue down the path. I assume you're basically going to the watchtower since it's the closest.
Yeah.
So that's again, it's pretty like long distance. Takes you about 45 minutes, 50 minutes to get there. But yeah, you pass by. You get to eventually on your left. You see the pumpkin patch, and he's like, "Oh yeah, just turn right when you get there. Past the grain silos here, which are there. You walk past a field. That to your left there's like corn, but these like corn stalks, they're like huge. They're like 8-9 feet tall. And then there's like a bunch of apples, apple orchards, apple trees here, where Elko sees some of these non-red apples for the.
I mean, look at that. That's not natural. Look at this.
It's just like no,
I
that is
grab an apple as well as we walk by.
Oh sweet! I'll grab an apple. What color is it, Brad?
those have to be poisonous.
No, I assure you, there are very few poisonous apples in this world.
Brad, what color is the apple?
The apple that you grab. That's a good question.
Blue.
It's
I
blue
take a
apple.
red. I take a red one.
It is a green apple.
See?
All right.
I hold it up to Alquil.
You're gonna get food poisoning.
I stand next to one of the food corn stalks. Like, am I crazy here? Are none of you reacting to this? Why is everything so over the top here?
I mean, I look. No, you're not crazy. I agree with you fully. Like, this is not. I've never seen something like this before.
Fucking love that. So Almir's like, alright, wait, am I the only one seeing this? Guys!
It's just like, let's see. There is farms, forest, yeah, I can see. Not very usual, at least not where I'm from. There are green apples. There's these fruit that is unimaginably called oranges. There are walking trees. I mean, there's a lot of strange things down south. But I've started to assume that anything I find to be strange is just normal for you guys.
Nope.
Yeah, normally yes, but this is. I understand that the Druids have something to do with it, but this is freakishly impressive.
Alexa kind of comes up like crunching on an apple. Crunch. Well, it could just be a very fertile soil. Brad, could I do like an Arcana roll to see if like what's maybe going on here?
No, I think it would probably be more like nature.
More like nature, eh?
Mhm.
Well, I've got +5, but I'm not proficient.
I'm proficient, but apparently I roll shit.
This is dirt.
There we go, 21.
So as far as you can tell, like looking at it, maybe you like pick up some of the dirt or whatever, and you're like looking at the fruit. As far as Alexa can tell, given her knowledge of natural things, which is basically just what she picked up over the years, nothing about like. And your like wizard mind tends to like look at like, oh well, maybe it's like the soil composition or something like this, or the likes. None of that actually. Like everything looks normal. It looks like just normal dirt, like growing normal plants, and yet everything is just so massive and so bountiful.
But you are right, Shalamir. Crunch. So good. It's definitely more than what you normally expect. I think I'll try and ritual cast detect magic.
Yes, thank you for that expert analysis.
Yeah. So as you're casting detect magic, as you're walking along the road, There's no like detectable magic going on here. I don't think.
No mad. I can't.
Let me see here.
Oh my god! If I should just get dispel magic and go around dispelling all the magic, cause of famine.
I mean, do you want to commit war crimes? Do you want to become the villain?
No. So there's no ongoing magic.
Yeah, and like so say, it's like, well, from sensing the aura around this place and the magical energies, doesn't seem to be anything that would indicate that it's magical. So
Could
it's probably
you-
something else.
Could simply be blessed. After all, there are a lot of priests and druids worshipping Shantae here.
I mean, I have heard that like farmers, when they're cultivating crops, sometimes like to pick out the best seeds and breed them over generations. That could be what's happened.
I'm
Clearly, that didn't happen with humans. So let's stare at Alexi.
Got him.
What?
Nothing.
Yeah. So you guys eventually you arrive at the base of some sort of structure along the wall. And again, there's kind of like the wall seems to be like divided into two parts. So there's like an inner and an outer part. The inner part's only about like 20 feet high. You can see some stairs that lead up to it. And then further in, there's stairs that go up further to the outer walls that are 60 feet up. So as you climb up the walls, you make it to that outer part, and you can see that at this section of the wall, it widens to accommodate a few like buildings with some like stone, broad stone parapets. Some of these parapets seem to be kind of like crumbling in disrepair, and as you're like arriving at this one, you can see there's a large section of the wall and the top of it that seems to have like crumbled away from something. And there's no longer any like cover along that section. On top of this parapet section, there's a 30-foot tall stone pagoda that is topped with some sort of weather vane, and then it's just like an open like covering basically. And then inside you can see there is a wooden statue of Chantea. Kind of like in the middle of this pagoda area that is holding like a large bronze gong and surrounded by like cornucopias. There's a couple of stone like outbuildings to either side of this pagoda that seem to be like barracks of some sort. And you can see maybe about like a dozen to 20 or so guards kind of like patrolling around.
I guess we'll approach either of the guards.
Yes.
All right, yeah. So you just like walk up to one of the scouts.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they you can see they're like men and women of various kind of like races and ethnicities. So you just pick one at random. There's like a half orc woman. She has this big long bow on her back. She says, "What is it? Can't."
Do you know who were on the wall when the giant attacked?
And says,
Sorry, hi, hello. I'm Sir Alamerganis. We were just at the Captain Thunderblades, and he
Thunder ass.
we were just investigating the happenings with the giants recently, and he sent us here to ask where we could ask more in detail of what happened. And we were wondering if you could guide us to someone who could tell us a little bit more about what happened.
Yeah. So she like she nods and says, "Aye, is that so? Well, I was on duty at the time. I was on the other sides of the wall, but I can give you a basic account of what happened, or we can go try to find somebody who was at the epicenter of it."
Preferably someone in the epicenter.
Yeah, that would be preferable.
And sort of says, right, let me go see if I can find somebody.
Thank you.
Yeah, so she like kind of like walks off in a few moments.
Are there
later.
any fruit trees nearby?
No, you're on a wall.
Oh.
Yeah, so after a few moments, she returns with a human man. It says Bodrick here. He was stationed near where, and she kind of like points to the big like crumbling hole in the side of the wall where the giant's boulder hit the walls. He says he saw much of it. And he kind of like steps forward and kind of like introduces himself.
Sit down, boy.
He says, I'm told you have some questions about the attack.
Hey.
Yes, we're pretty much here investigating why what's up with the recent increase in activity from the giants, and we were hoping you could tell us a little bit more about what happened, more in detail. How many there were, where they came from, where they retreated back to, if you or the other guards have any inkling of where they might be camping, what routes they might be using to get to and from both here and wherever they might be residing.
He sort of says, well, I can recount for you what we saw from the wall here, but we don't range beyond it very much. We really only went far enough to find the trail. We didn't really scout it any further. Yeah, and you probably like walk over to the wall, like a little bit closer to the outside. And he gestures over to you can see like where the hills kind of like begin, like the rolling hills begin outside of town. And he said, we first saw a sign of them. It was pretty late, just before 9 bells. There was some figures in the setting sun. One of the scouts saw them. An elf, I believe. He says, we went on alert. We didn't think it was necessary to ring the alarm. And then a few moments later, a large boulder rained down and struck the wall and kind of gestures to where the section of the wall kind of like crumbled away. And he says, at this point, we saw 2 hulking figures on the horizon there, a few hundred feet out, amidst the base of the hills. We fired some warning shots at them. They returned fire with a few boulders, and then the full guard station went on alert. We sent out a few volleys of arrows, and they retreated back into the hills after that. There were no casualties sustained. Nobody was struck by the boulders, and the giants were chased away. We sent some men to go look and see if perhaps they were just still hiding there, but they were nowhere to be seen. It seems as though they had made a full retreat.
Well, how many people are you on a guard station?
And he says, each of these stations has 30 men assigned to them, 2/3 of which are on duty on rotating shifts.
30. I see.
Sorry, Brad, I missed a little bit of that. Did he mention any, what kind of giants, if you saw that?
No, he didn't. He just said hulking figures.
Okay.
They were pretty far. They were pretty far away. So.
All right. I'm assuming you know how different giants. How many giants have you personally encountered? Different kinds.
And he says, not many. I'll be honest. These were the first that I'd seen, actually, so close to the walls here.
Okay.
Says I've heard tales of them, of course, before.
Hill giants are usually very rotund, quite fat. Did you happen to notice the shape of them? Were there any that wasn't of that particular shape?
He sort of like thinks for a moment. Says, oh, from what I could see of the silhouettes, they did seem quite large in many dimensions. He says, tall as well as wide. I didn't see any other, just the 2 figures. There were no others hiding amongst them.
Okay. Because we are, in a way, working under the assumption that maybe there's somebody behind the hill giants pulling the strings, so to speak. So we're wondering if any others, other sightings have been made.
He just sort of like shrugs. He says, "This is the first sighting that we've seen of them, at least as far as I'm aware."
And since then, about how long ago was this, if you will remind me?
He says, "It was not long, a few 10 days."
Fair enough. And since then, there has been no sightings, no sounds, no activity whatsoever that could be linked to giants.
He sort of like shakes his head and says, "No, all's been quiet here on the walls since then."
I look at Alquill and 10 days is quite a long disruption if they are indeed checking the defenses. Leaves a long time for the defenders to adjust to the situation.
Well, I suppose.
Probably depends where they're moving from. They're giants, and they're probably slow moving if they're engaging.
Yes, I suppose.
Let's picture the camping a couple of days out. Say 3-4 days, 2 days, 3 days out, 6 days back and forth. A couple of days amassing. They were planning. Basically, what I would think they would engage pretty soon if it's happening. Within the next 24 or 48 hours.
Yes, I suppose. Well, I address the guardsman again. Is there anything else you can remember that would be worth mentioning? Anything strange or such?
Sort of like thinks for a moment, and he says, "Well, given that this is the first occurrence of any such thing, if there was anything strange about it, we wouldn't exactly know. We see enemies from time to time. This is the first time we've seen giants, but beyond that, nothing that I can remember. It seemed as though it was just a pair of giants that perhaps got lost." He says, "Since then, we haven't really made any changes to our schedule. We still patrol the walls like normal.
Farewell, then.
If I was you guys, I would keep an extra eye out tonight and tomorrow, just in case.
Not just tonight. We have, as Dwarf here said, we have reason to believe that they might be planning on doing something, which is why they may have tested the defenses those 10 days ago. So I'm sure you always are, but be on guard and stay alert. And thank you for your time.
Sort of like nods. It says, "Right, well, I must get back to my patrol."
Hey,
Of course.
best
Good
of
luck.
luck.
All right, thank you.
So, what do you say? This sounds... I feel like we don't have a lot of information. I feel like that we'd be... Actually, before I say that, what's the plan? What should we venture out into the mountains and see if we can find any trace of them? Any...
Any tracks they might have left behind?
Yes, I mean, they are giants. They should be leaving quite sizable prints after themselves if they are walking through the woods and
Indeed,
such.
but it's 10 days ago. The tracks will be cold. And if, by any chance, they actually are moving here now, we actually might just stumble into it. And then we're gonna get fucking squished.
Well, odds are they wouldn't be coming to this place, to this side of the. They would most likely attack from a different side. If I were to make such an attack, then the attack 10 days ago would probably elicit a response from the defenders, and bolstering the defenses at that particular place, and then strike at a different place.
But the thing is, as I just asked, how many people were on every guard post? Was this still the same?
Yes, but that's because this captain isn't
Exactly.
exactly that good, and whoever is in command of the Giants might be. I think we should assume they are very capable. I hate underestimating anyone.
Yeah, I think they're gonna be a lot smarter than the guard captain here will be.
Yes, which is why I think they are still going to attack a different place, even though
Yes.
because they don't know that the guard captain doesn't take it this seriously, unless they've been keeping an eye on the activity that's going on the walls. Which is why I want to scout out and see if we can find any traces of them and maybe locate where they are camping out and where they have their base of operations from, so to speak.
I suppose that's probably the best idea. Overconfidence, after all, is a slow and insidious killer.
Indeed. So, is there anything we need to address before we embark on this journey, other than perhaps finding a guide to help us through the environment?
We should just stash the things we don't need, grab our horses. Because if we are busted, we need horses to get away from them fast as possible. We can't outrun the fucking giants.
Should we maybe tell the Lord that we'll be gone for a little while?
Yes. I mean, I suppose he is in just capable hands right now, if not even more. I'm sure they have some ways, remedies, or magics they can use to soothe his pain.
Yeah,
More so than we could, especially traveling on the road would probably be quite an ordeal for him.
exactly. I think it would be better for him, as we just told him, we will go back to the city and use a teleportation device to get back there.
Yes.
So I don't think he minds waiting. And we did tell him what we're gonna do here, so.
All right, let's start with that then.
Yep.
Yeah.
We'll head back towards the church.
Oh,
Right,
church.
going back to the abbey.
Yes.
Okay. Let me see here. It's about a little before noon here as you do that, so that's 2, 15, 30, 45.
How many guard towers is there, Brent? Do you know? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Well, you can
7, 8,
you can
9.
see them on the map,
10.
yeah, but they're like miles apart, so it's hard to get a good
Yeah.
count on them.
15, 16, 17. 18 guard towers. 18 times.
18 towers on the wall.
Yeah, 18 guard towers, 30 people per tower on the shifts.
So it takes you about an hour and a half to walk back through the to the fields into the town and get back to the abbey. And as you arrive, it's a little bit past the noon sun. You can see a congregation of people dispersing from the abbey after a noonday prayer sermon, most likely.
So they would roughly estimate have between 500 and 600 men here on that much of walls.
Mm-hmm.
That's bad.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's so bad.
Well, it's not our job to, reinforce the fucking walls. Our job is to find and kill giants.
All right, let's set up patrol schedules for us. We're gonna man these walls now.
Should we try and avoid, this place getting destroyed and famine and all that stuff?
Well, yes, but we can avoid it by striking at the heart of the issue.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
As the I've the captain did have one point. We adventurers. We aren't made to patrol the walls. We are a strike force.
Aye.
We should
Do what we do best.
do what you do best. Yeah, find the giants, kill the giant leader.
My lady, I always say the best defense is a good offense.
Very well. If you think it's best.
It's a risk that the town will be attacked while we aren't here, but that's a risk I'm afraid we're gonna have to take.
Indeed. All right, I'll enter the chapel.
All right. Yeah. So as you guys enter the chapel, you see the two bears sort of sat there, to either side, looking at you again. And again, as you kind of enter, they get up and move towards you, Zurich.
I would have brought some apples from the outside or some fruits I know they can eat, and just give one to each.
Yep. Yeah. So you do that, and they kind of growl happily as they devour them.
I scratch them behind the ears when they're eating.
Yeah, and you can see the abbot standing there behind the altar, and as you enter in, he says, "Welcome back." And he says, "I hope that your investigations went well." And as you go to talk to the abbot, I think that is where we shall call things for today.
Yeah. Let's hope we not meet the Giants next game, because I'm not here next Sunday. Okay.
And let's hope we don't have as many technical issues next time.
Yes.
And stay awake when you first wake up.
Wait,
I was going to. I saw it. I was like, oh, okay, okay, so I'll just lie here for a minute, then, and then I'll get up. And that's how it went.
Yes. Well, on the bright side, there are no longer any holidays for the foreseeable future that will mess up my schedule, so we are good to go for next week.
I mean, there might be martial law, though, is the thing.
I mean, that's not really going to affect me, because then I'll be stuck in my home. And then I'll have no reason not to be here.
That would be even better, man.
And so then we will, of course, be meeting again next week, same time. And Thor, I believe it's your turn around the table to do the recap.
Unfortunately, I was unable to use my inspiration this session.
Yes, I have to use mine soon.
But yes, I will do the recap next time.
Fair enough.
And so with that, I bid you all adieu, and we shall meet again next week for the next exciting episode of the Crystal Crusaders.
Say goodbye, everyone.
Crystal Crusaders.
By all the millions of viewers.
Yeah, all of them.